Pharmacist Ben.
Greetings, Mr. AJ. How you doing, buddy?
I think I caught you in the midst of a brainstorm you're having there, working so hard.
I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I've been, I got in this writing bug hit me. And so now I'm just writing all this stuff. I got to figure out what to do with it, but I'm enjoying the process. And so you caught me in the middle of writing an article, but it's good to see you.
Good to see you also. And you know what? I got a comment on YouTube that people enjoy your short moments of truth.
Because the moments of truth? I did a thing about 5 years ago. I said to myself, I'm going to try an experiment every morning for 1 year, 5 days a week, taking the weekends off. I am going to do a little 2-minute clip. And I did for almost a year. I didn't quite make it 2 years, but every day. So I have 300 or so of these little clips. And there was some work. There was some work involved, but I did it. And I was very proud of myself. But I think now it's time. I got to do another 300 or so. It might be time to do another.
Yeah, people seem to appreciate them. And I'm sure there are things you can update them with.
I can update them. I can absolutely do that. There's a lot to do. I love communicating, AJ. That's my favorite thing to do. Not only to communicate the message about health and nutrition, but also to help people. I find that if I feel down about something or concerned or worried about something or something's bothering me, if I can help somebody, that makes a difference. So I pick up the phone, I talk to somebody, or I answer the phone, or I return an email, or I get on here with you, all right? And I get to do that. And I encourage everybody to do that. We can all help other people. No matter how uninformed we think we are, we're still more informed than a lot of other people. No matter how little we may know about health and nutrition, we still know more than most people, especially if we're doing longevity and especially if we're participating in these YouTube talks that we do, these bytes that we do, as well as the Daily with Doc calls. We've developed a little doc starting 30 years ago or so with longevity, 25 years. I guess what has it been now? It's been 27 years now. With longevity, has developed a kind of tribe of folks that are really, really hardcore about understanding nutrition, working with nutrition, and using nutrition to improve their lives as well as the lives of their friends and loved ones. And we have a really solid family that we built. And by the way, anybody out there listening, if you want to join this family, if you want to be part of this family, we encourage you to participate, not just as listeners, as viewers, or not even just as users of the products, but as people who are out there helping spread the message. We're looking for business builders. We're looking for distributors, and you'll get paid, and you'll get paid some good money if you do it correctly. So if this is intriguing for you, if this is interesting for you, if you enjoy helping other people, if you enjoy chemistry, nutrition, health, we'll help you understand the products, we'll help you understand health, and you can make as little money as you want, or you can make a lot of money. Some people are making a really nice living selling longevity products, and we encourage people who are interested to talk to AJ, talk to Rebecca, talk to myself, talk to the people who brought you here on this call, and get yourself a CO pack and get going.
Absolutely. And on YouTube, we have Eric from Kenya. He says, Ben is underrated.
Oh, Kenya. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that cool how when I started doing this, this was like, you were lucky if you got to the next town. This was before the internet when we started. There was no internet when we started. And now we're in Kenya. Some guy in Kenya. Yeah, you're probably feeding his giraffe in the backyard while he's listening to us on.
Yeah, Eric's a little more urbanized. But
I'm just kidding.
So just to jump right in, because I know time is short.
Yes.
I'd like to just talk about first this gentleman named Clifton. He's got a pacemaker, and they want him to go on statin and Eliquis. And what kind of info could you help?
Yeah. So a pacemaker is a little battery-powered device that keeps the heart beating appropriately. The heartbeat is a really fascinating process. The heart is the one organ in the body that's not dependent on any other organs. The heart is an independent organ, and it doesn't. Any other organ in the body, the brain or the liver and these other organs that are obviously very important, they all depend on the heart, but the heart doesn't depend on anything else. The heart is a self-contained organ. One of the ways it maintains its self-contained nature is by beating. And the heartbeat is an extremely complicated, tightly regulated, precise biochemical process where there's an electrical current that occurs in one cell, and then in another cell, it spreads to another cell and spreads to another cell. And there's actually a little unit of cells in the heart called the pacemaker. So what this gentleman is talking about, what a lot of people are dealing with, are artificial pacemakers or external pacemakers, which are battery-powered devices that duplicate the pacemaker in the heart. When the heart becomes weak, like all organs, when inflammation occurs, and it's all about inflammation, as we've talked about many times, it won't beat appropriately. All this really tightly regulated biochemistry that has to happen in individual cells and then into the group of pacemaker cells doesn't happen appropriately. The heart doesn't beat as powerfully or as regularly. When the heart doesn't beat as it should, the blood is not distributed correctly. The blood doesn't move efficiently through the vessels. When the blood does not move efficiently through the vessels, clumps can form, clots can form, thickening can form, and this can be a serious problem, and it can be a leading cause of death or stroke or all kinds of horrible things. So, or even if not full out disease, it will just impair nutrient delivery and oxygen delivery and detoxification. We always say all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. So the pacemaker is put in, this artificial mechanical battery-powered device is put in the heart to make sure that the heart beats appropriately and the blood can move through the circulatory system the way it's supposed to move, minimizing the risk of clots. The drug they want to put this guy on, number one, Eliquis, is a blood thinner. That's to enhance the anti-clotting effects of the pacemaker. So they want to keep the blood from clotting, from forming these thrombus, they call them. So that's what the Eliquis is. When the blood wants to clot, it wants to clot. And to control clotting, or to control the thinness or the thickness of the blood, requires heavy-duty drugs, serious medication, because blood clotting, or the thinness or the thickness of the blood, is very, very tightly controlled. The blood is the life of the body. I've said this all the time. The blood is the most important part of the body. It runs head to toe. It contacts all the cells, not directly, but all the cells are responsive to the blood. And the blood is distributing, as I said, nutrients and oxygen and detoxifying the cells. So obviously, the blood is critical, and the body has to maintain a certain amount of fluidity to the blood. The blood, by the way, is a jelly substance. It has a certain thickness to it. In fact, it's considered to be a tissue. I don't know if you know that. The blood is considered to be a tissue, a liquid tissue. And it's a liquid gel, and its fluidity versus its thickness is tightly regulated. Eliquis, warfarin, these blood-thinning drugs, Plavix that they give you these days, remember we said, Moses, they hit the rock. They tell the body, you dumb body, you stupid body. Boom. I'm the doctor. I'm smarter than you dumb body. I am going to make you thin. Now, fairness, by the time you go to a doctor with a problem like this, the blood has been contaminated for so long, and this is what causes the clots, and this is what causes the cardiovascular disease. Remember, all disease is cell disease, and all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. So by the time you go to a doctor, and you've had a stroke, or you've had a congestive heart failure, or you got some kind of ventricular tachycardia, or atrial fibrillation, or whatever you have, by the time you go to the doctor, he's trying to just save your life. So this is not about ripping doctors or the medical model. Praise God that we have these brilliant medical folks who can deal with 40, 50, 60 years of trashing our bodies. And that's really what it's about. It's about not taking care of our bodies. And finally, we go to the doctor and they have to stick a pacemaker in there. The point I'm trying to make here is that by the time you are requiring one of these heavy-duty blood thinners, they may be keeping you in the game. I talked to a gal yesterday, and she was going to be put on a calcium channel blocker for her hypertension, and she didn't want to take it, and she wanted to know what else she could do. And I said to her, look, I'm not, I'm not a big believer in prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals, and I rip on them all the time, but I'm not Pollyannish either. You may need this calcium channel blocker. This gentleman may need the Eliquis. But if you're on a prescription drug, your number one health challenge should be to figure out how to wean yourself off that drug. I'll tell you how you do that in one moment. So this gentleman is being put on Eliquis, a blood thinner, because his heart is not beating appropriately. That's why they put the pacemaker in there. To add to the drug, to the pharmaceutical protocol, they're including a cholesterol blocking drug, the thinking being cholesterol will further thicken the blood. And by suppressing cholesterol production, you'll reduce the likelihood of blood clots. And that's what they're trying to accomplish here. So what does this gentleman have to do? Number one, first and foremost, you got to clean the blood. And what do you mean? What do I mean by cleaning the blood? You got to stop that stream of toxicity that's getting in through the intestine. Were you on the call yesterday that I did with Becca I gave this graphic. You run the call. So I gave this graphic description. You remember the graphic description I gave of Lake Erie?
And
Right?
sludge. And
The
Lake
sludge,
Erie.
right? I grew up in the 70s. I was talking about, for people who weren't on the call, I was talking about Lake Erie. And I remember Lake Erie caught on fire. And I remember seeing pictures of big pipes that were spewing waste from steel mills and sewage and all kinds of garbage into the water. And then the water caught on fire. Well, that's a graphic example of what happens to our blood when we have leaky gut. Can you picture this? I run, it's disgusting and it's graphic, but we really want to understand what's happening. When the gut, the intestine becomes leaky, the lining becomes inflamed and the cells spread out, toxicity gets into the bloodstream. That toxicity involves food particles. It involves immune system cells. It involves secretions from bacteria. It involves particles from bacteria. And all of this gets into the blood. The blood is the carrier of the immune system. The immune cells that we talk about all the time, the antibodies and the immune globulins and the white blood cells are all carried through the blood. So once toxicity gets into the blood, it's very easy for an immune reaction, that is inflammatory reaction, which is clotting and thickening, to occur in the blood. So you got to stop that stream of toxicity. This is critical for anybody who's dealing with a blood disease, which is every disease. So what do? This gentleman should be on the I-26 today. This gentleman should be on the nightly essence today. This gentleman should be on the ultimate enzymes. The ultimate enzymes have double duty or perform two functions for cleaning the blood. Number one, they help the body process food at the level of the stomach so you don't have particles that are too big getting into the intestine. They help you digest your food. But number two, when you take your ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach, they act as a blood thinner, a blood cleaner. They break up clots. So taking your ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach can support blood cleansing, and taking them with food can support blood cleansing. And always you want a little bit of acid with your ultimate enzymes, a little apple cider vinegar, although there is some acid in there. There's also bile in your ultimate enzymes, and the bile can also help clean the blood or can help protect against leaky gut or intestinal permeability syndrome. So I would be also using the ultimate enzymes with the bile because of the bile salts, not just because of the enzymes. And then also the nightly essence probiotics, which are the best probiotics I've ever seen in terms of the spectrum of bacteria that they contain. Plus, they also contain something called nattokinase, which is an enzyme that can help clean the blood. So you're working on digestive health always. First point in the triangle of disease. What's the second point in the triangle of disease? The blood sugar system. There's no cardiovascular problem without dysglycemia. Take that to the bank. There's no cardiovascular health problems, chronic cardiovascular, I'm not talking about acute injury, but chronic cardiovascular health problems without messed up blood sugar. So treat yourself like a diabetic. Get on the healthy brain and heart pack and throw in some of the nutrients from the healthy blood sugar pack, like the sweeties, which is chromium, vanadium, the ultimate niacin, the ultimate selenium. I would throw in the ultimate microbiome and then do some blood sugar stabilizing strategies. And if they haven't, they may have said to this guy, he's not a diabetic, he doesn't have diabetes. Don't pay attention to it. Treat yourself like a diabetic. Drink more water, throw in some BTT in there. And this is true for all diabetics, especially first thing in the morning. Moving your body shunts sugar from the bloodstream into the muscle, thereby lowering blood sugar. So doing some sort of exercise. If people are elderly or frail or have heart problems, they're not going to feel like going to the gym maybe, but just take a walk around the block or just walk up and down the stairs. And the cool thing about these kinds of exercise protocols that are really seem like they're silly or they're not going to do very much, your body builds up strength. So you may only be, say you're morbidly obese, or say you just got out of the hospital, you had a bypass done or multiple bypasses done. You're not going to feel like going to the gym, but you can walk up 2 or 3 stairs. The next day, you're walking up 4 stairs. The next day, 5 stairs. The next week, you're doing 10 steps and then back the other way. And it gradually builds up. Rome wasn't built in a day, and don't underestimate the power or the effectiveness of small moves and then increasing those small moves. So you're going to treat yourself, you're going to work on the intestine, on the leaky gut, and now you're going to work on the blood sugar system. Both of these are going to have a blood cleansing effect. Insulin and blood sugar make dirty blood more complicated. First of all, blood sugar will actually make the blood thicker, and it will actually distort the blood, and it will distort the blood vessels through a process called glycation. So blood sugar can have a negative effect. Elevated blood sugar or uncontrolled blood sugar can have an effect on the circulatory system. And then insulin speeds things up. Insulin will increase cell division within the cells themselves, and that can also exacerbate hypertension, create problems with sticky blood, and put more work on the heart. So you're going to treat the digestive system, first point on the triangle of disease, and the blood sugar system, second point on the triangle of disease, using all your digestive support supplements, which we just mentioned, I-26, Ultimate Enzymes, Nightly Essence, and then your healthy brain and heart pack, tossing in all your blood sugar stabilizing supplements, and then eating ketogenically, low calorie. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Eating's for kids. When we reach a certain age, we don't need a lot of calories. 1,000 to 1,200 calories is plenty. And, as much as it's hard to say, if you really want to be maximally healthy, there's no room in a maximally healthy diet for a Big Mac or a pizza or French fries. And I don't want to pick on anybody, but that's just the way we have to look at these things. The manufacturers of these foods are not our friends. The manufacturers of the processed foods and the fried foods and the fast foods, they're not our friends. And they need to be perceived as the enemy. So if you want to be maximally healthy, you don't get to eat the standard American diet. And especially if you're dealing with heart failure, if you had a pacemaker put in, or you're at the point where you need Eliquis and a statin drug. Now, as far as directly thinning the blood, there's some really interesting nutrients that or strategies that can help directly thin the blood. Oxygen is a natural blood thinner. So either you can practice slow, deep breathing techniques, or you can find a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. So oxygenation is one of the ways the body thins and also alkalinizes. pH is also very important. So making sure that you're breathing correctly. Drinking water has a liquefying effect on the blood. So making sure that you're drinking enough water, that can help. So these are strategies that you can use that will, above and beyond nutritional supplementation, that will support cardiovascular health and allow him perhaps to get off the Eliquis. I don't know how far down the rabbit hole he is. The statin drug, I'm not going to, I don't want to debate with his physician, but there's a lot better ways to lower cholesterol. AJ, what's the number one reason why cholesterol levels go up?
Sugar.
Bingo. Sugar. Cholesterol is a building substance. It helps the body make cells. It helps the body make hormones. It helps the body make vitamin D. It helps the body make stress hormone. Cholesterol is your primary building substance. What we do when we eat a lot of sugar, when we enjoy the standard American diet, the average American's eating up to 180 pounds of sugar a day, is we're tricking the body. We're fooling the body because sugar represents building. When the body eats sugar or gets sugar, it thinks it's supposed to be building. Why? Because sugar for millennia was only available in the summertime when we were building. And the summertime, from an evolutionary perspective, is when we have vitamin D, when we have a lot of calories, when we have quality fats, when we have sugar. And all of these things tell the body it's summertime and it's time to be building, because you're going to go out. You got to go out and hunt, and you got to go out and forage. In the wintertime, you sleep, at least from an evolutionary perspective. And from an evolutionary perspective, it was summertime that was associated with building. So when we eat sugar, the body thinks we're going to be building. So it jacks up the cholesterol. As soon as you get your blood sugar under control, your cholesterol will be under control. And elevated cholesterol should be regarded as a blood sugar issue. And the problem with the medical model is people, and I have a lot of friends who are doctors, I'm not ripping on doctors, but they don't know biochemistry necessarily. So they just read the statistics. Oh, people with high cholesterol have heart disease. So that means you lower your cholesterol and you lower your heart disease. No. People have high cholesterol have elevated sugar, which causes the heart disease, right? If you know biochemistry, you see how this is all put together. So this gentleman would, if he lowers his sugar, he's going to clean his blood. He's going to also lower his, and that'll make his heart healthier. And he's also going to lower his sugar and his insulin, which will also, he'll lower his cholesterol by lowering his sugar and his insulin, which will also support cardiovascular health. And he probably won't need the statin drug. Digestion, blood sugar. If he wants to throw a couple other things, relax. In fact, I'm going to talk about this on my LinkedIn. I do these LinkedIn podcasts with my friend Liam every Sunday. And we're going to talk about the parasympathetic nervous system versus the sympathetic nervous system. The rest and digest nervous system, where you want to spend most of your time, versus the sympathetic nervous system, the stress, fight, or flight nervous system, where most of us spend our time. And by activating or learning to activate the PNS, the parasympathetic nervous system, you can go a long way towards improving cardiovascular health, improving circulatory health, improving digestive health, improving immune health, and living a long, strong, vital life.
Man, I feel like I'm being two-timed here, but at any rate,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I'm just joking, man. So that was a fantastic answer, and I hope Clifton can benefit from that. I want to talk a little bit about muscle wasting.
Yes.
After we had someone post-stroke who's losing a lot of muscle tone and muscle mass, and it's turning into skin and bones. He's got a big belly. And what's going on post-stroke?
He's got a big belly and no muscle.
Big
belly and no muscle. And he had a stroke. And I don't know where stroke. Stroke affects the brain, obviously, you know that, and that affects the nervous system. And when the nervous system isn't working like it should, the muscles don't work. The nerve firing is what activate the muscles. So if your nerves aren't firing because you had a stroke, I don't know where he had a stroke, where in the brain he had a stroke, that makes sense. So the best thing this guy can do from a physical perspective is exercise. Resistance training. The belly issue is a blood sugar issue. And, AJ, have you noticed that all your friends from high school don't look the same when they're 50 as they did when they're in high school? Everybody. Everybody has a little bit of a belly. Everybody does. Everybody's got, thicker cheeks. Just look thicker, look bigger. That's the manifestation of insulin resistance that kicks in. Everybody's dealing with it. Unless you're like a high-powered athlete or you're super, super conscious about your diet and you know what to do, which, maybe 1% of people are that sophisticated with their bodies. I'm not that sophisticated with my bodies. I'm not saying I am. Most people aren't. You're going to be dealing with insulin resistance and blood sugar issues. That's what that belly is. Unless you have a condition called ascites, which is a fluid that leaks into the belly, or if you have a full-blown digestive health issue, like an intestinal issue where you're bloated, for the most part, that's belly fat. And that belly fat is an insulin and blood sugar condition. The fact that this guy had a stroke also tells me that he has an insulin and blood sugar issue. Basically, he's dealing with dirty blood. So guess what? This guy has to do the same thing the first guy has to do. And you'll hear us say this over and over again. We'll repeat ourselves over and over and over again. And this repetition is required because all health issues are basically the same problems. Just because the leaves on the tree you have different leaves on the tree being affected doesn't mean that you don't have the same problem. Yeah, you got a million leaves on a tree and they can all be affected, but the problem all comes from the root and the soil and the trunk. And that's how the body has to be looked at, or pathologies, breakdowns in the body have to be looked at. There's a concept in physics called simplexity. Simplexity is the idea that the most complex forms come from the most simple building blocks. Take your computer. If you look at your computer, you're looking right now, you see all kinds of physics and electrical phenomena that are occurring to create a browser and to create a camera, a picture from your camera and all the other things that are going on. But it all comes from zeros and ones. It's just two digits. Zeros and ones produce everything that you see on your computer. If you go into a video game, you can have a complete civilization that you can enter to with topography and people and citizen buildings and all the things that go on in a society or in a culture can be duplicated on your computer screen through zeros and ones. That's called simplexity. The body is the same way. Cells are the same way. Very simple things of simple movements create this entire biochemical process. In fact, Dr. Wilhelm Reich said it was all about contraction and expansion. It's all about firing or not firing. And really, it's all digital. It's all zeros and ones and expansion and non-expansion, or inflammation and non-inflammation, on and off. And that's all that's happening in the body. So this repetition is very important to get a hold of, or what we're talking about when we're repeating ourselves is very important to get a hold of, because in these things that we're repeating ourselves over and over again, you have the answers to every chronic disease, whether it's cancer, or heart disease, or acne, or atherosclerosis, or arthritis, or autoimmunity. It's all formed from basic building blocks. And that's why we repeat ourselves over and over again. So for this gentleman who had a stroke is a sign of dirty blood. Clean the blood. I-26, food diary elimination diet, eat less calories, more fiber, ultimate microbiome, ultimate nightly essence, ultimate enzymes, anything you could do for digestive support. Then the healthy brain and heart pack. The healthy brain and heart pack doesn't have the blood sugar supplements, so you throw in the sweeties, throw in the ultimate niacin. Make sure you're using your osteomag. I would throw in, by the way, I didn't mention this, the zinc FX can be very helpful for blood sugar control. Zinc's important for the blood sugar system, as is the CFX. Vitamin C is also important. The ultimate selenium is also important for the blood sugar system. And then for the muscle wasting, number one, laying off sugar is going to help, but replacing your sugar with your TMR shake or the new I don't know if you've seen the new birthday shake or happy birthday shake, they call it.
I heard about it.
Oh,
I mean, I've
man.
seen it, but I haven't tasted it.
It's pretty darn delicious. It's pretty darn delicious. But I mix my TMR shake with like maybe a scoop and a half of TMR shake with about a scoop of the birthday shake. And it comes out perfect. So more protein. Whey protein is especially important for building. And then muscle resistance training, muscle building. Get in the gym, and you don't need to even get in the gym. Just get 5-pound dumbbells, 2-pound dumbbells, or just do body weight exercises, or just 2 gallons of milk or 2 gallons of water and just lift those. Come up with some kind of way of being uncomfortable. One of the reasons why we're so sick in this culture is because we're so comfortable. The foods that we eat that we're not supposed to be eating are oftentimes called comfort foods. We are obsessed with comfort, and obviously we don't want to be uncomfortable like in caveman days, but a little bit of discomfort is how you build. The body is in this has a use it or lose it kind of attitude. And then if you're not pushing, you're not making yourself a little bit uncomfortable, you're not going to build. So making your muscles uncomfortable through resistance training. Go on Amazon for $5. You can get these rubber bands. Have you ever seen these things? These bands. And you can just do band exercises like this. You can put them on your feet and you can do sit-ups, or you can lift them up like you're doing curls with just a $5 band. There's no reason why, as we get older, we should lose muscle mass if we're paying attention to what we're doing. Now, if you had a stroke, it's going to be a little trickier. I don't know how bad the stroke is or how bad it's affected his neurology. So he may have a little bit of a harder time, but there's always something you could do. Even just sitting up, standing up, and sitting up will give your butt a great workout, your hamstrings and your quads a workout as well. Standing on your tippy toes and then going back down and going back up is a great calf workout. Pressing against the wall with your body weight is a great bicep and shoulder workout, or even chest workout. So all kinds of great things you could do in the comfort of your own living room or bedroom that will build muscle, that will put the body in a little bit of discomfort and help kind of activate the neurology and the muscles and the anabolic process, or that is the muscle building process. Yes.
Quick
yes,
question.
Yes, sir. You don't need to raise your hand. You're the only one here. Unless you need to go to the bathroom. If you need to go to the bathroom, raise your hand.
Okay. Thanks. Right. Thanks. I feel kindergarten. I don't hear you mention the HGH.
It's not nutrition because it's not really nutritional. It's a secretagogue. A secretagogue is a substance that encourages secretion. It won't hurt you. It absolutely won't hurt you, but it's not nutritional in the sense that it will build tissue the way the TMR shake or the Fit shake, or it's not like cofactors the way the Mighty 9 essential nutrients are. Now, let's talk a little bit about HGH. HGH is growth hormone, or it's not growth hormone.
Precursors
it's
we have.
A secretagogue for growth hormone. HGH is human growth hormone. They call this product HGH, and it's a secretagogue. That means it encourages secretion. Hormones are secreted. Growth hormone is like any other hormone, is secreted out of cells in the brain. And the molecules, the nutritional molecules, encourage that secretion. However, if you got a blood sugar problem, or if you have insulin resistance, or if you have a digestive problem, your body's not just going to make growth hormone. It's only going to make growth hormone if you're healthy. It's not just going to pump out growth hormone if your body's toxic or your blood sugar system is thrown off. So you can't just take growth hormone secretagogues if you're dealing with blood sugar problems, or you're dealing with toxicity from a leaky gut, or you're dealing with breakdowns at the first level, the first 2 or 3 levels of the triangle of disease. That's why I don't talk about the HGH as much, because I want to get people set up on the triangle first. That's mission critical. It's like that phrase, stop the bleeding, right? If you get hit by a car, yeah, you're going to need to get a bunch of repairs at the hospital, but the first thing you got to do is what? Stop the bleeding. And that's where most of us are at. Or most of us we've just been hit by a car, metaphorically. We got to stop the bleeding. And that's why I'm always talking about the Healthy Start Pack and the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, or the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, or the TMR Shake, or the Fit Shake, or the I-26, or the digestive support products that we have. Youngevity is really big on digestive support. And by the way, I love talking about the digestive system, but Dr. Joanne Conaway, who has been with Youngevity as long as I have, she has forgotten more about the digestive system than I'll ever know. And she's been talking about this for a long time. So if anybody has questions about the digestive system, I'm happy to help, but Dr. Conaway is an expert.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show.
Yes.
We have a 7-year-old child who's now autistic, and apparently the parents are associating it with a post-jab injury.
Which jab was it? Which jab it was?
They didn't say.
Okay, it doesn't really. Here's the thing. First of all, anybody who's dealing with an autistic kid should get a book called The Gut and Psychology Syndrome by Dr. Natasha Kinsky-Campbell. And she goes into this at length. Autism is a gut issue. Now, sometimes it's associated with toxicity at the level of the blood through injection. Now, I always say that all disease is cell disease. All cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. And the main way that the blood becomes dirty or contaminated or toxic is through the intestine. Okay? However, it can also get contaminated through injections because you're going right in through the skin. So while most people aren't going to have that problem, there are some people who do. And even though the National Institute of Health says there's no evidence and it's it's not true and it's all misinformation, the fact remains there's a lot of people who can tell you their kid developed neurological health problems, whether it's autism or movement disorders or Guillain-Barré or whatever, after they got injected. So take that for what you will.
I got friends who say the same.
So the NIH says, who are you going to believe? Who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes? So that's what the NIH says. That being said, clean the blood. All autistic kids should be monitored closely for flare-ups in their autistic behavior. When they have flare-ups, you backtrack to the foods that the kid ate. It's very common the kids who are autistic will have issues with gluten, have issues with grains, have issues with leaky gut, have issues, all the issues we talk about. There's toxicity that enters into the bloodstream through a leaky gut that can affect the brain. So it may be the vaccine. The vaccine may induce some digestive health issues. I don't know, but you're not going to, the damage is done there. But what you can do is you can mitigate it by working on intestinal health, looking for flare-ups and associating those flare-ups with foods, and then using all the digestive support that we just talked about, especially the I-26 and the nightly essence. Yes.
What's an 18-month DMMR?
It's a type of vaccine. It's not the jab. It's not the COVID jab.
Okay.
So, and like I said, there are vaccine injuries that are well known, neurologically related, whether it's autism or it's demyelinating or neural diseases, and there are things that can happen. So if that's the case, the toxins already in the system work where you can work by keeping the blood clean at the level of the digestive system. You can also use things like bentonite clay or charcoal, activated charcoal, or zeolite, all of which can improve detoxification. There's also chelation therapy strategies. I'm not sure if they'll do it for a little kid, but chelation therapy, where they inject a special chemical through the blood that magnetically pulls toxins out of the blood. And then also plant-derived minerals are one of nature's best detoxifiers, blood detoxifiers. So using your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the mineral toddy, any of the plant-derived minerals will have a detoxifying effect on the blood. The condition is a blood condition. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Autism, like anything else, involves dirty blood. Keep the blood clean, whether it's at the level of the digestive system through a leaky gut, or if you want to use some of these chelation strategies those can sometimes help. Or if you want to support detoxification with plant-derived minerals, activated charcoal, bentonite clay, zeolite, that can help too.
And then in the vein of dirty blood, we have some folks dealing with Parkinson's and MS.
I am telling you right now, I have helped so many people with Parkinson's disease, and quickly. Parkinson's disease is something that nobody should have to suffer with. Parkinson's disease is a gut issue, an intestinal issue, a dirty blood issue. So change the way you eat, use the digestive support, clean the blood, and your Parkinson's symptoms will begin to subside, and quickly, depending on how comprehensive you are with your blood cleaning strategies and your food strategies. Do a food diary, chart what foods make your Parkinson's symptoms worse, your Parkinson's tremors worse. And you'll notice certain foods do that. You'll also notice that tremors go away when you're in the bathtub. Why would that be? Why would tremors go away when you're in the bathtub? Along those same lines, that gal I was talking to yesterday, I was telling you, talked to this gal about her high blood pressure. They wanted to put her on a calcium channel blocker. And I told her she may need the calcium channel blocker, but I gave her a bunch of things. I said, why don't you go take a hot bath? I said, take your blood pressure and then go take a warm bath and then take your blood pressure again. And you know what she said to me? She said to me, I did that. I said, so what happened? Oh, my blood pressure dropped. Well, duh. Of course it dropped. Because you've now relaxed the body. Elevated blood pressure, vasoconstriction is a sign of a body in duress. They used to make jokes about white collar hypertension. Have you ever heard of this?
Yes,
People
sir.
Their blood pressure goes up when the doctor comes in because they freak out. Your blood pressure will go up when you're scared. Your blood pressure will go up when you're freaked out. So elevated blood pressure is a sign you're freaked out. So relax the body. Parkinson's disease and movement disorders are the same way. Relax the body. In fact, here's another thing you can do. Slow, deep breathing for the Parkinson's patient. Watch what slow, deep breathing does for your shakes, and notice how difficult it is for you to practice your slow, deep breathing when you have Parkinson's. You're going to have to really work at it when you have Parkinson's, but you'll notice that there's a payoff for it. And then multiple sclerosis is another horrible, horrible illness that nobody has to have. It affects people in their prime of their life, mostly women in the prime of their life. By the way, MS is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune diseases affect way out of proportion more women than men. Something like 8 or 9 times more men than women suffer from autoimmune diseases. Why would that be? What is the distinguishing feature between women and men? Estrogen. What is estrogen? It's an inflammatory hormone. It's an immune activating hormone. So when estrogen imbalances occur, and they can occur because of intestinal problems, this is the most important reason, because estrogen is cleared out through the intestine, and as well as through using bile and bacteria. So using digestive support strategy for your MS patient is a must. Read the Walls protocol. Dr. Terry Walls, WAHLS, wrote a whole book on curing herself of multiple sclerosis using what? Digestive health strategies. She didn't say the first point on the triangle of disease, but she could have. So work on the first point of the triangle of disease for MS, and then it always helps to work on blood sugar as well. Listen, you guys, this is not complicated. What is the worst disease that smart people suffer from? The most common disease that smart people suffer from?
Overthinkitis.
Overthinkitis. We're all smart people here, all 14 of us. And then the people who are listening later, who are going to listen tonight and in the coming days and weeks and months and years. We're all smart. That's why we're listening. Don't fall for overthinkitis. It's simple. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. The blood becomes dirty through a leaky gut, as well as occasionally through injections through the skin. Sugar and insulin compound the problem of dirty blood, and that is your second point on the triangle of disease. Once the blood becomes dirty and the inflammatory process kicks in, cortisol and stress hormone is involved. Cortisol is your body's anti-inflammatory. You throw in psychological duress, which we have almost intentionally created a system where all of us are going crazy. Cortisol levels go up. That suppresses the thyroid. And now you go back to the digestive system because the thyroid regulates the digestive system. So hypothyroidism impairs digestive functioning, leading to more blood sugar problems, more cortisol and thyroid problems, more digestive problems, and you end up with this downward spiral. But it all starts with the digestive system and then the blood sugar system. And like we talked about before, don't even worry about the third point in the triangle of disease. Just work on these 2 points. If you work on these 2 points, the digestive system and the blood sugar system, and do a few other things like exercise and breathing and relaxation strategies, there's no way your symptoms will not improve. 100% guarantee. 100% guarantee. Whatever your chronic degenerative disease symptoms are, they can improve.
Fantastic. We've got a couple of questions on YouTube, but real quick, Tasha is one of our health coaches, and she mentions that her client has white film in the corners of her mouth and on her tongue.
Well, that's not good.
Do you know what that could be, and how can we help her?
Sounds like thrush. Have you ever heard of thrush?
I've heard the word.
It's pretty yucky. It's a yeast infection, a fungal infection that grows in your mouth and your throat and other parts of the body too. I would wonder if they have it in any other parts of their body. Is it a woman or
female?
It's a female. So ask her if she has any genital fungus or yeast infections like that. It's typically a sign of thrush or oral candidiasis. It involves the candida yeast, and it's very tough to deal with. Antifungal medicine is really toxic. Why? Because funguses are among the most resilient of all life forms. They may be the most resilient of all life forms. They're designed to thrive in conditions of death. There's a really cool book or a movie called Fantastic Fungi. If you haven't seen it, it's super, super cool. And it shows you how fungus will eat an old shoe and turn that shoe into flowers. Isn't that cool? Fungus will release the nutrients in an old shoe. An old shoe is made up of leather and collagen, and they'll actually release the nutrients in these things, and the nutrients go back in the soil. So fungus are really, really important part of the life cycle. They subsist on dead tissue, but because they're so resistant to medicine, to medications, because they exist on death and destruction. Death and destruction doesn't faze them. They thrive in it. You can't really kill them. And they have a coating on their seeds that medicine can't get through. So fungal infections are really tricky to deal with directly, and the medicines that kill fungus are super toxic. So they say, what do? You change the environment that the fungus are growing in. This environment is referred to as the terrain. And the terrain is how you control the cells. The cells are responsive to the terrain. That's why all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. The blood is part of the terrain. And that's what you're working on, the area, the context, not the content. The context that the toxicity or the disease is growing in or persisting in, proliferating in. In the case of fungus love sugar. They also love destruction. They also love death and disease and inflammation. So to work on a fungal infection, you work on everything else, right? You work on the terrain. You're not going to work on the fungus. Nobody just has a fungal infection. It's not like there's a fungal infection angel that sprinkles fungal dust on your head and all of a sudden I got a fungal infection. I was sitting here minding my own business, watching TV, and boom, I got a fungal infection. How do you like that? What are the odds? What are the chances? No. The fungus is proliferating, and I don't mean to be facetious here, but it's kind of interesting how we think. There's an environment or a terrain that is conducive to the growth of fungus. In fact, you've heard of the microbiome, right?
Yes, sir.
The microbiome is the universe of bacteria that live in our body, live largely in our intestine, but also on our skin, also in our eyes, in our lungs, in our genital area. We have fungus everywhere. We have bacteria everywhere. That's the microbiome. But did you know there's also a mycobiome? The mycobiome is the universe of fungus that live in the body. All the fungus live in the body naturally. Even the bad ones, they all live in the body. And they live in peace. and in community and in balance with the microbiome. However, when we throw off the microbiome, we throw off the mycobiome. When the wrong bacteria proliferate, or we kill off the right bacteria we kill off the right bacteria, the fungus can overgrow. So what you want to do is you want to focus on the microbiome so the microbiome can handle the mycobiome. Does that make sense?
Is it possible? Is it possible some antibiotics
Yes.
may play a role? Okay.
Yeah, it may what?
Have played a role
Yes,
in the fungal
absolutely.
overgrowth?
Not possible, likely. And she may have been taking a round of antibiotics. People who do take antibiotics can get fungal infections. Or even if she's not taking antibiotics, there's antibiotics in our meat. There's antibiotics in our dairy. There's antibiotics in your ice cream cones, in your ice cream. There's antibiotics everywhere. In our water, there's antibiotics. So your orange juice that you bought at the grocery store has antibiotics in it. Antibiotics are everywhere. When they give livestock are the most important. The antibiotics are given more antibiotics, a lot more antibiotics, maybe 5 or 10 times more antibiotics go to farmers than they go to people, go to livestock than they go to people. Well, when those animals poop, excrete, where does the antibiotic go? It goes into the ground. Where does it go? In the water supply. It's everywhere. So yes, antibiotics almost certainly are going to play a role in that. Chlorinated water can play a role in that. Fluoridated water can play a role in that. Sugar can play a role in that. Anything that throws off bacteria either causes the wrong ones to proliferate or affects the right ones can throw it off. So you work on the microbiome. How do you work on the microbiome? Digestive health. Stay away from foods that throw off the microbiome, that mostly sugary foods, the FODMAPs foods. FODMAPs, right? Should we talk about, I don't want to get too much into digression, but the FODMAPs.
I recall.
The FODMAPs foods are very important to recognize for folks who have these chronic fungal infections, and they're very common, and they're impossible to treat by themselves. As I said, they can give you, super strong drugs for it, but they're not really that effective, and they're very toxic. So working on the terrain is the way you want to work with a fungal infection. By the time, if this is indeed thrush, I don't know that it is for sure, but the way you're describing it, if it's thrush, it's significant. She may need something like nystatin, which is a antifungal drug, just for the local infection, because that can be pretty unpleasant, and it's a sign of the fungus really going out of control. Most people don't have fungal infections that are that severe. By the way, toenail fungus is the same thing. And a lot of people have I see all these commercials for toenail fungus remedies. You're not going to cure your toenail fungus by putting stuff on your nails. That's the way the body's getting rid of the fungus. You're not going to be controlling your fungal infection by putting something on the nail, no matter what you see in the commercial. That doesn't make any biological sense. By the way, not only do you have you have a microbiome, we talk about that a lot. Not only do you have a mycobiome, do you know you have an actual virome? The virome is the universe of viruses that live in your body. Just like you have bacteria all over your body, just like you have fungus all over your body, you got viruses all over the body. And so this idea that we're these innocent bystanders and the bacteria are attacking us and the fungus are attacking us and, the virus, the bird flu and the pig flu and this flu and that flu, they're all attacking us. We live in balance with these things. And we have an immune system that is designed to deal with these things. And that immune system is largely based headquartered in the intestine. And if you look at all the people that are suffering from intestinal health problems, 80 to 100 million people, you can see why we're going to have issues with viruses, as well as fungus, as well as bacteria. Work on the terrain.
Okay, let's wind her down and try and get some of these YouTube questions.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this. Does Longevity Team do blood work or any type of test?
No, you don't. No, if you're, it's cute. It's cute to know certain things, but if you're sick, you got a blood problem. Period. If you're sick. Now, you may want to know about what kind of inflammatory factors are in the blood, what immune factors, if you have circulating immune complexes to the thyroid or to the pancreas, you could tell if you have an autoimmune issue. It's not necessary. We want to get this idea that we have to go somewhere else to be checked. We can do this ourselves, with the exception of traumas, which is praise God for the surgeons and the emergency room nurses and doctors. Praise God for them, because you do have emergencies, living in life, entropy rules, stuff happens. We know that. But for chronic degenerative diseases, lifestyle, which are lifestyle based, we want to learn to be our own health authorities. That's our mission. And I once asked Dr. Wallach why he named the company American Longevity, which is what it was called before it was Longevity. He said it was my two favorite things: longevity, health, wellness, living to 130, and America. What does America mean? We can do it ourselves. We don't need help. We can pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. We can be our own authorities. And that's true about a lot of things. True about we want to be our own financial authorities. You don't want to have to be depending on somebody else for your finances, for your money, although, to a certain extent we have to, but as little as possible. And you don't want anybody to be an authority over your physical form, over your physical body, unless, like I say, you break your leg or get hit by a car or something horrible happens. But for long-term chronic health challenges, we want to be our own health authorities. So no, we don't do any blood work. If you want to get some information, you can do. But when they test your blood, they only test it for certain things. So you're not going to know everything about your blood or about your body because there's only a certain menu that they're testing for. Go by your symptoms. That's the best barometer of how you're doing and how your blood is doing.
Rapid fire. Can you build lean muscle if you only consume 1,500 calories a day?
Yes. Heck yes. Absolutely. Make sure the 1,500 calories a day are building calories and you're not eating anything inflammatory. But heck yes. The building is the Now, if you're a performance athlete, if you're a high power runner or, you're playing football or whatever it is, you're going to need more than 1,500 calories a day. That's true. I'm talking about for the average person. But yes, the average person can build. Now, when you're building muscle or when you're doing resistance training, you're tearing up your muscles. So your caloric needs increase, not necessarily for calories, but for nutrients. And, you're going to want maybe more. I can't tell you if it's 1,500 or 2,000, but from when I talk about 1,000 to 1,500 or 1,000 to 1,200 a day, I'm talking about for most people. I'm not talking about recovering from surgery. I'm not talking about if you're pregnant. I'm not talking about if you're a high-powered athlete or even if you're just a runner. Those are going to be conditions where you need more calories.
Is childhood diabetes a food or inactivity thing?
Childhood diabetes is an autoimmune condition. It's a condition where the immune system turns on the pancreas. Like all autoimmune conditions, you want to regard it as a food problem. And there's a lot of literature that talks about milk being associated with both type 1 diabetes and JRA, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, which is also an autoimmune issue. I'm not saying it's milk. It could be though. Look for foods. Look for foods. Any autoimmune condition, you should look for foods. Autoimmunity is associated with dirty blood, with toxic blood, with CICs or circulating immune complexes in the blood. Where do circulating immune complexes come from? They come from the intestine through a leaky gut. So look for problem foods with your type 1 diabetes patient. It doesn't have to be a child. It could be sometimes adults get type 1 diabetes or diagnosed with it, or your any autoimmune condition.
Is endometriosis a gut issue?
Yes, 100%. 100% a gut issue. And there's many reasons for it. And by the way, endometriosis is god-awful. God-awful. One of the most miserable conditions a woman can have to endure is endometriosis. And there's a lot of these conditions that women endure. So what is the main culprit? Remember, whenever you have a female issue, endometriosis, fibromyalgia, autoimmune diseases, reproductive health problems, fibroid cysts, all of these things that affect women, PCOS, all these things that affect women, think estrogen. It's the distinguishing feature, biochemical feature between men and women. So what does estrogen have to do with the gut? Everything. Estrogen is eliminated out of the gut. Estrogen is produced in the female reproductive system and to a certain extent in the adrenal glands, actually a lot of cells, but mostly in the female reproductive system. And it has to be eliminated quickly. It has to be eliminated out of the body quickly. Today, we have a problem with something called xenoestrogens, foreign estrogens, plastics, cosmetic chemicals, phthalates. All of these act like estrogens, drugs, birth control pills, things in the chemicals in the water supply. All of these have estrogen-like effects. There are herbs that have estrogen-like effects. There are plants, vegetables that have estrogen-like effects. All of these estrogens, whether they're xeno, foreign, outside the body, or whether they're produced by the body, are molecules that have to be eliminated by the body quickly. Estrogen is the strongest, most powerful of the steroid hormones. It's active in very tiny, tiny amounts. When I was making estrogen products in the pharmacy, I had to be very, very careful. I had to have a special scale to weigh out the estrogen because if I was off by a milligram, which is like a speck of salt, a grain of salt, I could the patient would come back overweight or depressed or with skin problems or reproductive problems or sleep issues or all kinds of things that happen from excess estrogen. Estrogen is a rev you up hormone. It's an inflammatory hormone. It's a cell division hormone. It makes cells grow. It makes cells divide. It makes things happen, revs things up. And so with estrogen, the body has to clear it quickly, and it clears it quickly through through bile, which comes from the gallbladder, and through the intestine. But if you have and the liver, but if you have a gallbladder issue, don't have a gallbladder sometimes, or you have a bile issue, your bile gets sticky and sludgy, like your blood gets sticky and sludgy, or you have an intestinal problem. Bacteria in the intestine can reactivate estrogen. Estrogen is supposed to get cleared out of the small intestine and the large intestine and come out in your bowel movement. But there are bacteria in the intestine that can actually make estrogen stronger. And instead of clearing it, the estrogen will recirculate and be even more potent. So the digestive system plays a major, major role in the estrogen balance of the body. So always work on intestinal health if you have endometriosis, fibromyalgia, dysmenorrhea, problem periods, infertility, even chronic urinary tract infections can be related to a condition called interstitial cystitis is related to a leaky gut. One of the molecules, which we've talked about in the past, that comes out of a leaky gut is called histamine, like the same stuff that causes hay fever. Histamine revs up estrogen even more. Estrogen can inflame the intestinal lining. So estrogen can lead to more leaky gut. So you see how this whole thing goes together, but it all boils down to intestinal and digestive health. Now with estrogen, you can also use progesterone or DHEA, or actually not DHEA, but progesterone helps balance out estrogen. Also, essential fatty acids can help with estrogen. So using your ultimate EFAs is a good strategy. There's also the Zero-Them that you can use, but mostly you want to be focusing on intestinal health.
Well, Ben,
nice stuff, huh?
I mean, I don't know, man. That's just action-packed. I mean, you're just and people always say it. People talk about how you're amazing and all that other stuff, but I get to see it firsthand.
I appreciate it
very often, and I appreciate it.
I just want everybody to know that we're not sick, we're starving. We don't need to be fixed, we need to be fed. There are so many lifestyle, just daily, day-to-day things that we can do without interacting with the medical model from the comfort of our own living rooms, bathrooms, kitchens, homes, that we can do to take care of our health of our friends, our loved ones, our family, without drugs, without medical intervention. God bless the doctors. They'll stitch you up when you get hit by a car or rock falls on your head. But for 80 to 90% of our health challenges, we can do it ourselves and quickly. You can notice results quickly. Parkinson's, MS, digestive problems, blood sugar problems, dementias, all of these can begin to resolve quickly, 24 to 48 hours. If you got some kind of toxicity that's getting into the blood and you just stop the bleeding, as we say, stop the stream of toxicity, you can notice results really, really quickly. And by the way, some of you may know I'm in the skin business. I've been in the skin business for many years. This is extra true about the skin because the skin turns over so fast. So if you're dealing with acne or psoriasis or eczema or any other skin disease, and people sometimes find skin issues more troubling than anything else because everybody can see our skin, it's doubly true that you can notice results super quickly without medical intervention if you do this correctly. And we can help you do it.
Okay, I got another question for you.
Yes,
Tomorrow's the 4th of July.
Happy 4th. God bless America.
Should people engage in hot dog eating contests?
Oh, yes. They should eat lots. I forgot to mention the essential hot dog. Yes. You make sure you're doing hot dogs. In fact, I've heard this. I'm not sure if this is true, AJ, but the Mighty 90 can be replaced with 90 hot dogs.
Is that what?
Yes.
Daily.
Yes.
Daily,
only on the 4th of July. 90 hot dogs. Oh my God, I cannot think of a more disgusting food to eat. All processed meats should be avoided like the plague. If you need to do a hot dog, have one without the bun. And Here's a way to avoid eating hot dogs if you don't want to eat hot dogs and you're like, you got to have a hot dog, but you know you shouldn't. Get your hot dog, put it in your mouth, eat it slowly, and taste that mush in your mouth. And chew it 100 times. Just keep chewing it until it's this mushy, pasty disgustingness. That'll take care of your hot dog urge.
Well, you're the man. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you. God bless everybody. And thank you, AJ, for what you're doing. This is awesome.